Wednesday night on Dress to Lighter podcast this week. Let me introduce gently our panel for tonight's debate. The magic Dr. Orlando, that indefatigable Kathleen Taylor.
Hello.
The legendary Tyler Springer now.
JT, what's good?
What's up? It's a strange name, Springer now. Is that how has it been? Has it always been double-barreled?
No, see, what you do is you cut off the N-O-W, so it's just Springer.
Right. It's just Springer.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So Jason Springer now.
Very good.
All right, well, anyway, fair enough.
You're learning.
Yes, and the Transylvanian pheromone person, Ivo Ivanov, guesting tonight is me, Jeremy Taylor. So, Mikey Pokorny is here. We've spent quite a lot of time, actually. The reason we're late recording this is because we've been trying to spell his name, and it's basically pork, or it could be pork, but anyway, it's Czechoslovakian.
We're all going to die.
Yes.
Especially if you can't pronounce my name after spelling it. It's phonetic. P-O-K-O-R-N-Y. Pokorny. Pokorny. Now, in Chicago, it might be pronounced Pokorny. Pokorny is the other pronunciation. But yeah, you can use that. That's
from the old Pokorny family.
Is that something that's in your past? Do I owe you money? Did my relatives owe you money?
The old Pokorny.
Did my family have a gambling debt? Or
yeah, well, you know, I make this offer to you today. So, I was thinking the other day when I was watching a Marvel, and if you tune into my radio station on the 5th of May, you will hear us debate Marvel's magazines.
Wasn't the magazines.
That's the 6th, buddy. Saturday the 6th.
Saturday the 6th.
And your radio station is?
KLWN 1320 and 101.7.
It's like we got MacGyver as our engineer.
You're wandering along in the fields.
Yes.
Gay as a little butterfly.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I'm just picturing everybody around this table.
There in the grass is Thor's hammer.
Dun, dun, dun.
And you think, oh, look at that. That's Thor's hammer. Oh, how nice. How would you pick it up? And what would you do with it? Jason?
Well, I mean, if you go by the story, I can't pick it up because I'm not worthy to pick it up. And so I'd probably just protect it and stop other people from picking it up, I guess, and start judging people around it. But if I could pick it up, I would probably pick it up and then, oh man, I'd probably just go knock down the White House just for shits and giggles, probably. Yeah.
Sounds good.
You would appear in front of the White House and say to the
I'd just ride. I'd
this
ride a bolt
here
of
in my hand is Thor's hammer.
I'd ride a bolt of lightning. No, I tell a lie. I would ride a bolt of lightning down to Florida and knock down Trump's little palace escape down
Mar-a-Lago.
there. Yep, I would knock that down. That's what I do. That way I would force him to actually be accountable and live in the White House.
Mike Pokorny.
Now, no one can actually pick up Thor's hammer besides Thor. That's
not true.
What? Who picked it up? Who else picked it up?
The newest movie.
Vision has picked up Thor's hammer. The Hulk has actually picked up Thor's hammer.
Whoever is worthy. Yeah.
Whoever is worthy.
Okay.
If you are worthy enough, you can pick up Thor's hammer.
Okay, so I got a game plan. I cut off the Hulk's hand with
Okay, you just cut his hand off. I'm not sure you're worthy.
Well, okay.
This is like one of those killed children's things. I cut off his hand with, and then someone else has to join in, you know.
With Wolverine's hand.
Now, if you went and adopted a family from Kenya, then okay, maybe that makes you worthy, and then you can go pick up the hammer.
Right. Otherwise, I would use Hulk's hand to get a crane. But yeah, it pretty much comes down to me having to cut off Wolverine's hand, using his claws to cut off Thor's hand, and then grabbing Thor's hand and then using that to pick up Thor's hammer. And what I would do with it, build a very small shed.
a very small shed.
Yes, the smallest.
The smallest shed you've ever seen. It's beautiful.
It's not huge.
It's not huge. It's minor league.
Minor
minor
league.
league shed.
He does
okay.
a good job.
Yeah.
Kathleen, what would you do if
How
you
would
could-
how would I pick
What
up
would
Thor's
you do
hammer?
with his hammer and stuff?
Well, I'd tell you first how I got to pick up his
Right,
hammer.
right, okay.
You see this hammer in the field, and you go up to the hammer and you say, "Oh, Thor's hammer, aren't you cute? Isn't this a little boring around here? Want to go home with me?"
That's what you said to
Seduction.
me.
I like it.
That's what you said to me.
And it worked.
I was saying, yeah, clearly it
we've
works.
known for a while that you're a pickup artist. So.
Oh yeah.
And that's how
You
you're
think that
gonna-
wouldn't work?
That's how you're gonna raise the Thor's hammer.
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna pick it up.
And immediately it just jumps into the 89 Skylark.
I'd say, "Oh, aren't you hard? Oh,
So that's
you want to go there? I'll go there." You
So
know.
Is
Thor's
that a
hammer is-
wooden handle I see?
Yes. Are you just glad to see
So
me?
now we know that Thor's hammer is the nickname for Jeremy's loaf. Is that what it is? That's what you
Private.
call him?
Did you say loaf?
You said you'd never tell anybody that.
I didn't. You just guessed.
Loaf?
Dr. Orlando, you found Thor's hammer. What would you do with it? How would you pick it up? What would you do with it?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to assume that I am worthy and that I can just pick it up.
Right, okay.
Sorry.
So I try to
For
pick
the
it up.
purposes of the conversation, we'll
purpose
assume
of
you're worthy.
conversation, yeah. And, well, obviously I can't pick it up because I'm even less worthy than Jason. So, by the way, Evo, Tyler is back to being Jason now.
Yeah, you can use my real name.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's cool.
So, anyway, I would try to figure out why I can't lift it up. And so I actually, went through a mental exercise to figure this out. So I tried to use clues from the movies exclusively. So this used to violate comic book canon, but it doesn't anymore. I found out after I did this that it is now written into comic book canon because another guy did the same thing. I figure, first of all, we know we have to have a scientific answer because Asgardians aren't gods. They are just sufficiently advanced humanoids that their technology looks like magic.
Tell that to the raccoon in the tree that they're humanoids.
But they are. This is canon from the movies. Thor explains this to Jane in the movie, that they are not gods. They are merely super advanced humans. And another clue is that Thor is able to put his hammer on a coffee table in Tony Stark's apartment. Tony Stark lives on the penthouse of his tower, which means the hammer cannot be heavy enough that it would break the table. It also means that the fact that the hammer hasn't basically bored into the middle of the earth when it dropped also indicates that the hammer is not any more heavy than a regular hammer. There's something about the hammer that means you can't pick it up. So I start thinking about, what Tony Stark said, that there's most likely a biosensor in the handle that either turns on or turns off a function of the hammer.
That's what Stephen Hawking claims as well.
Well, okay, there we go. So now the only thing left to figure out is what is the hammer turning on or turning off. So basically, the hammer has to have the ability to cancel any upward force that's placed on it if the switch isn't turned on or turned off. And quantum physics says it's gravitons. So this hammer has the ability to emit extra gravitons, meaning it always equals whatever upward force is put on it. So in the case of that table that we were talking about, the hammer weighs 16 pounds. The table could easily support 16 pounds. If I try to pick up the hammer, I pull on it, the hammer emits gravitons enough to cancel out my upward force without causing the hammer to weigh anything more to the table.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you for a second, Bill Nye, just for a second.
Thank you.
So, just to go with the whole Marvel thing, the hammer's made of uru, which is this...
Uru metal, yeah.
Yeah, it's made of this, and the uru is actually a conscious metal. So the metal itself is the one who judges whether or not someone is actually worthy.
Yeah, and actually,
There is no sense of like.
This is actually one of the things that and I found this article.
But that's There you go, right there.
No. But everything else that I just said still stands, whether it's the Uru metal or some constructed technology
Well,
that the
I left my
Asgardians
trigonometry book in my car, so
By the way,
It's a
by the way, Conscious Metal is a great name for a heavy metal band. You
And
know.
that does make it pick upable in my sense of the
Question:
Metallica was very unconscious
metal. Judas Priest. But a question: Thor's hammer. Isn't there a communication and relationship between the hammer and Earth's gravity? Would the hammer weigh the same? Would it behave the same in space?
Yes, it absolutely behaves.
In vacuum? Well, where
It
would
absolutely behaves.
Where are the
same.
Where it would be
gravitons?
falling constantly then?
Except there's this whole other part of the thing that I didn't really want to get into. Let me just tell you, the guy that wrote this article, that I basically like pieced all this together in my head and then just hopped online to check and see if there was anything that supported it. And this guy, Jim
Research.
Kakalios, is a
definitely
professor
lives in his mother's basement.
of the School of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Minnesota. He actually wrote an article that laid out what the physics of Thor's hammer must be. And this is what he wrote out. And then he sent it to Marvel. So Marvel wrote his theory into the most recent conception of Thor's hammer as being, and still with the Uru metal. So that's not disqualifying anything that I said so far, but that is exactly how Marvel defines Thor's hammer at this point in the comics, which I thought was pretty goddamn cool.
Yeah, the fan fiction can influence canon.
Yeah.
It's not the first time. That's happened a lot of times.
Ivo Ivanov, you find yourself hiking in the Bulgarian mountains.
Yes, in the Bulgarian
Where he
Alps.
always
Singing-
Yes.
hiking in the
singing
every morning.
You know,
And I find Thor's hammer.
and
Is
you
that the
find
question?
Thor's hammer. Yeah, how would you pick it up and what would
I
you do
would,
with it?
if I find it, I would hammer in the morning. I would hammer in the evening all over this land.
That's a great way to start a day right
I'll
there.
hammer out danger. I'll hammer out warning. I'll hammer out love between the brothers and the sisters all over this land.
God, we're terrible.
That's beautiful. Is that the Culture Club?
Peter, Paul, and Mary. You know what? If I find it and I'm able to pick it up, I'll break it. I can break it. You know how?
You mean on purpose, not on
Yes,
accident? Oh.
because nobody has broken Thor's hammer, right?
Okay.
But
Could
It's
you do-
actually been broken a couple times in the comics before.
okay, but I will break it for the first time using a very, very conventional and predictable method. I will hit Chuck Norris on the head with Thor's
that'll
hammer,
do it,
or I
man.
can just toss it at Chuck Norris, and he will spin a windmill kick, to protect himself, and he's just going to shatter it to a million pieces.
I'm not sure you're taking this seriously enough.
It's a lighter podcast. It really
Lord
is.
Ivanov,
right.
you're not taking this podcast as seriously as you should do. It's not right.
Tell this to Chuck Norris, man. This is pretty serious. Gravitons, Chuck Norris kicks Graviton's ass. There's going to be abundance of Graviton kicked ass after Chuck Norris is
Can I
done
just
with,
ask,
with
is-
the hammer.
Is one of the Marvel? Is there a Marvel person called Graviton?
There is actually.
I want.
There is a villain called Graviton who actually can control gravity.
There's some
then he
badass
should be
that's
able to
worse
pick up
than
Thor's hammer.
Thor. That's more dangerous than Thor, and it's Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, because he had not only a hammer, he had a sickle.
Goddamn right, he ruled the country.
He was the ultimate villain with two weapons.
Okay, it's moving on. Next subject. It's spring. It's spring. What winter chores have you put off for years
Or at
You
least
say
since
it-
last winter.
and really need to get done right now? So, for example, I bought a tractor, new one, probably 8 years ago. And the nice people there said, you need to change the oil after a little while. So they gave me the oil and everything else, and I haven't. It's still running on its original oil, the very first oil. And every time I drive it, every single time I drive it, I feel guilty because I just haven't bothered to, drain it. And I can do it. I have all
Poor
the
little
equipment, and I just
tractor.
haven't done it, and I feel really bad about it.
I like the fact that a little while is 8 years in Britain.
And that, well, yes,
Actually,
I mean,
I'm more impressed that Jeremy's so used to living in guilt that he still hasn't changed it. That's the impressive thing to me.
Yeah, Jeremy,
Should've just sold that thing.
This is a great topic, and you actually, with your tractor story, you tipped me to tell an amazing story apparently John Deere, and we know John Deere. We have a friend who is one of the biggest distributors
Dealers,
of John Deere in the region. A very successful guy. John Deere has started manufacturing tractors that are literally bordering with science fiction. I mean,
Could
we're
they
talking
lift Thor's hammer?
probably. They're completely robotical. They're incredible.
They have gravitons.
Computerized gravitons, everything. So the problem is, farmers are people. They're different kind of people. They like when something gets broken, and these tractors cost $100,000. I mean, it takes a lot of work and a lot of money to buy one of those. So when something breaks, they want to fix it. They can't. John Deere has rigged the system. You can't fix the smallest problem is unfixable anymore because they rigged it in a way that you cannot open anything without a specific software that you need. And they have made it in a way that you have to contact a dealer, they have to send an expert, and he comes and fixes it in 20 minutes. It's nothing really, but only he can do it, and it's a scam, and they charge you thousands of dollars for it.
Deer support.
No.
Don't
So
sign up for the
legal
deer
scam.
support.
It's a legal scam, and it's horrible. It's horrific. And the poor farmers, they have to wait sometimes for weeks because they're out in the country and those dealers are not close, and they have to wait, and they lose thousands and thousands of dollars of crop. So what they've done, guys, is brilliant. Ukrainian hackers. I am not
Seriously, to hack into your
shitting
own
you.
tractor?
I am not shitting you. In Nebraska, freaking farmers wearing overalls and speaking redneck are contacting Ukrainian hackers, and together they hacked into the effing tractors. And Ukrainian hackers give them software entry point so they can get in and fix their tractors. So this is where we are.
Only
Hold
Deere,
on.
or are all
This
the
is
tractor
not where the
makers
story
doing
John
ends, though.
Deere.
This is not where the story ends, though.
Uh-huh.
Guess what happens when John Deere finds out that the farmers have now hacked into
Yes.
their farm or their tractors?
It's against the
fire
terms of
them?
They're
services.
suing the farmers.
Yes, yes,
Jimmer,
yes,
to answer your question, have a garage sale.
yes. Garage
Now
sale.
that we went off on that tangent forever.
No.
No.
We're going to make this
I'm not a
question
hoarder. No,
about
I'm
tractors,
not.
okay? It's
Officer,
about tractors now.
I'm not a
I have
hoarder.
a lot of shit to say about tractors.
I'm not a hoarder.
You are the
I'm
moderator.
not a hoarder.
I'm
I'm
just
the
answer-
moderator.
I'm just answering your question.
I'm
though.
no garage sale. Mikey.
What do you mean no garage sale?
Mikey.
It's a
quickly.
chore.
Mikey. What
would
have
you
you
do?
what have you not done that you should have done?
Got laid.
That's a winter chore.
It really is. It really
That's a year-round
really
chore.
is. In
All right,
fact,
Jeremy, you
it's
want a
the
better
time-
one? Seed my grass. There you go.
Bada bang.
Hey-o, up top. See my grass.
And that's also is the same as getting laid, right? It's like a expression, seed the grass.
See the grass. Well,
Apparently it
you
is
gotta
now.
play on the grass.
yeah,
Actually-
you gotta mow the grass.
Are you looking down on the grass or
I like to be eye level.
do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do you
should-
like to-
This
should
just
they-
took a really interesting turn for
Do
me.
you like to
Because that
mow
never happens.
the
That never
grass,
happens.
or-
I treat the grass with care,
Agreed.
precision, make sure everything is pristine.
Do you spread the
It's the
seed
best
evenly?
golf course in the world.
Come.
It's the best golf course
in
you've
the
ever seen.
Okay. So
Dr. Orlando, what
obsessed for
it's
life
spring,
now.
what have you been putting off for more than just one spring that you should have done years ago you haven't done?
I honestly couldn't think of anything. Like I have a list of winter chores that absolutely must be done before the first day of spring. I have a list of spring chores. I have a list of summer chores, and I'm kind of up to date on everything right now.
Well, look at you, Mr. Perfect.
Disgusting.
wow.
I'm feeling pretty
How
happy.
dare you? How dare
You
you?
I
don't
haven't
even have
even
a-
changed
a
my
basement
calendar in 3
that
years.
needs cleaning out.
I do have a basement that gets cleaned out
Oh.
twice a year.
How
Yeah.
about siding? Do you
Wash
need
it,
new siding?
Wash it. I wash my driveway. I have a power washer.
Have you
I-
weeded all the flower beds?
that is
I'm
not
sorry.
on my chore list.
You wash your driveway?
I wash my fucking driveway.
Dude.
Have
Okay,
you-
man, you need to move the fuck out of Overland Park because it's really starting to get to you, man. It's called rain.
It's destructive.
No.
It's called precipitation,
Dude,
man.
When you take the power washer and get it the grime out of your driveway that's been there for like a year and a half,
It is
It's very
satisfying.
satisfying. It's very satisfying.
But
This
I
is
get
your
bored
friend.
having
And when
it
he
down.
says
Well,
driveway,
all of a
I
sudden,
think of
what the
something
hell?
else.
Jesus Christ, you need to listen to some conscious metal. You know,
do that, frankly. Mr. Ivanoff, what have you been putting off? I mean, other than putting away your Father Christmas blow-up
Mikey
dolls.
Pokorny said it, or I think, or no, Jason said it. I've been wanting to put together the most epic garage sale of all time because I haven't purged all the crap in my house since
Agreed.
what,
That's-
20 years, and
Yeah.
I have enormous amount of meaningless crap in the basement. I have bizarre futsal tables, and I have I told you I have a 7-foot tall giraffe.
Elena's soccer trophies.
Yes,
And then-
Alina's soccer trophies.
How much you
That's
want-
true.
how much you want for that
Basketball
giraffe?
trophies. I don't know.
How much do you want for Nip? That's the
Oh
real
no,
question.
the giraffe has a name. The giraffe is Janine Girafalo. Don't
That's
forget
so
that.
beautiful.
Yes.
Janine
Really?
Girafalo. Yeah. A statue of a giraffe I have.
I did a
Anyway,
top 10
I
best
want to
names.
do that, but get this, guys. So much work. I have to catalog everything. I have to bring everything in the garage. I have to label it. I have to put prices on it. I mean, it takes a lot of planning.
You don't have to label thing. You
They
have to
just
put a
come up
price
to you-
sticker on it. That's it.
No.
You don't have to
You don't even have to put a price sticker on the item. You put a price sticker
Yeah.
on the fucking table.
or they just come up to you like, how much for this? And you're like, how about $5?
Yeah, you charge them based upon how
how
good they're
rich
looking.
they look. Yep.
That's a good plan.
How gullible they appear to you.
I made a sign. You know how you see those garage sale signs all over, and I have a sign, which is perfect. I said it says. Help us make our trash your trash. Garage sale, 405 Boulder Street.
You need to change that though, so that it says the most epic garage sale.
Yes, of all time. Yeah, come and get your conscious metal right there.
Kathleen, it's spring, what winter chores have
well,
you put off for years?
besides, clearing out everything, you've nixed a garage sale, so I guess we can't get rid of stuff. How about it's not for years necessarily, but I really need to get down on my hands and knees and scrub
Yes.
the kitchen floors.
Tell
watch
us
it,
more.
Watch it. Because I tend to skate over them, but I don't want to. I'd rather stick to it and just pull my shoes off every now and then as you go across.
But then you know where you are, don't you? At least
Yeah.
you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said like 5 sentences, and there's nothing non-sexual in those sentences. Almost everything you said was obscene.
That's
my
me.
wife.
That's
Thank
me.
you for bringing more balance to this very lighthearted episode.
I'm not sure whether I have been very dirty or balanced. I'm just not quite sure where you guys get your
Can it
thoughts
be
from.
both?
I think you do a good job of being the yang to our
Particularly
yin.
since Mikey hasn't had sex for 6 months, or maybe 9, or probably more like 18.
I have stopped counting. I'm not keeping a calendar. I still have my calendar of Calvin and Hobbes, 2014. It's still on June.
Well, you must
What the
never
hell
throw
am I
away
supposed
Calvin
to do
and
in
Hobbes
June in
calendars.
2014?
What did you
Get
do?
laid?
I don't.
Maybe-
that may have been it.
Maybe it was
Well, you
the-
left it there.
The last time
That's
somebody
right.
picked Thor's hammer, I guess.
It was a great Calvin and Hobbes. It's the one where he says the transmogrifier and
Oh, yeah.
and he
Oh, you know what?
all
Can
kinds
you-
of hijinks ensue.
Can you destroy asteroids with Thor's hammer?
Yes, you can destroy planets with Thor's hammer. This is why there's so many things about this question that just kind of appeal
Oh, we've
to
gone
the
back to
super
Thor's hammer now, have
scientific,
we?
nerdy,
It's inevitable.
freak
I'm
out.
with Mikey.
Yeah.
I'm more into the transmogrifier than Thor's hammer. Yeah.
Now,
I'm sitting there
can
thinking
you put
about
the
this.
Thor's hammer in a transmogrifier? What would it turn into?
It would turn into the TARDIS.
I think it would turn into Bob Vila's tack hammer.
No, because I'm sitting there thinking, so the hammer can't weigh infinite amounts, and it can't be attracted to things that weigh infinite amounts because it would automatically
It's hard
just
to be attracted to things that
travel
weigh
to the
infinite
nearest
amounts.
black
It's
hole.
just, gross.
Nerds.
This is something that Jason Springer wanted me to ask. He wants to know what our fascination with leather is, and what is our favourite leather
accoutrement.
I know what
Our
Jeremy's
leather
is, and I'm not going to tell.
Our favorite leather item is, in my case, I will admit, it's my.
The spectators are bailing on us.
Lederhosen.
He is German.
You actually own Lederhosen?
Of course I do.
No, you don't. You know what, though? He loves leather because I literally last week I walked into his Range Rover, and the man told me
He said
You
walked.
don't walk into a
no,
car.
you walk in it because
you-
it's so
he's
freaking
making
huge. It has echo. It's just a giant freaking. It's a building. It's the size
Building
of an
on
elementary
wheels.
school. I mean, you can't even. What do you say? You don't pocket. You position it.
Gets the same
Ego is
mileage.
making up a reason for knowing about Jeremy's leather fetish. So just let
Go
him
on,
finish.
and what about the leather?
Okay, now I get
But
it.
so
Thank you.
we walk in his giant Range Rover with my son, and I asked him,
Now
is
it's getting
this,
weird.
is this leather interior in your car? And he said, literally, no. It's not fucking leather. It's rich Corinthian leather. So yeah, there is a little bit of a,
Forgive me.
Mikey,
bit of
who
obsession there.
admitted, and of course, all
take
sorts of
another,
people
yes.
could be listening. Mikey, who's not had sex for 18 months.
This may or may
longer
not
every
be
time.
true.
Your leather fetish. I mean, what do you feel about that?
Oh, I like Edge, Colgate, Barbasol.
No, leather.
leather, not lather. Leather, dear.
Oh
Only came home to me late.
man,
But that was quite
the
good.
accent. I don't know. Cows are my
Oh,
favorite
yes.
leather. They're so delicious.
They've taken the leather
Do you know
off
they
by the
haven't
time we
arrested
get to eat
anybody
them.
for having sex with a cow for a very long time? Sheep, yes, 1960s. Man.
There you go, Mike. You got something to shoot for right there.
Yeah.
What, to be an Australian? Oh, sorry to all the Australian listeners right now. I know that's a
dear.
bad
You
stereotype.
have pissed off both of them.
You're my favorite people, mates. Okay, all right. That's a terrible.
yeah,
That's
it's
a
okay.
little
That's a
work.
really
A little bit of
awful
work.
Australian accent.
you
What
do
if,
an
what if
Australian Trump?
was Australian, yeah,
What if Trump was the president of Australia?
or Australian president, yeah.
Then he wouldn't have taken that phone call very
We'd
well.
have never heard him. Dr. Orlando, your favorite leather dress or trousers
I don't have
or
one.
boots?
I saw your question and I was taken aback by the presumption that I have a fascination with leather. I really don't have a fascination with leather. I have one thing that I have discovered is that my leather belts wear out longer than the synthetic belts do. So I tend to buy leather belts, but. I think any other leather that I own is purely happenstance, and I never search it out.
I'm going to echo that a little bit.
Yeah,
Actually, this whole idea
definitely.
about leather wearing longer, mine is a wallet. Because I can have a leather wallet for years upon decades. Mine's easily
mine
a
is
wallet.
a purse. A
'Cause
decent,
it never wears
decent
out. It's
handbag
perfect.
out of
And
leather is
It
worth
forms perfect
Yeah.
to my ass. It's it's great.
I started thinking now that you mentioned this question. I started thinking of what I own that's leather. I have a leather couch, and it's good. It's really good. I
real
wonder,
leather, not fake leather.
real leather, and or at least
Corinthian leather.
They
No,
really
they
don't.
don't.
It's the best Corinthian leather.
rich Corinthian leather, and I have a leather freaking jacket with fringes. I've worn it
nice.
the last time maybe 20 years ago, but it's freaking awesome. It's awesome to look at. You know, leather
Now you
jacket.
gotta go find it, don't you?
Leather jacket is one leather jacket is basically the difference between a fat redneck slob and the leader of a biker gang.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's how transformative a leather jacket could be. You know, I have maybe one pair of leather gloves. And
I was so
mentioned
hoping you
shoes
would
and
say
boots
leather
yet.
pants. I was so hoping you would say leather
Oh
pants.
no, I don't. But
He
that's
has
a
some
good
chaps.
idea. Yeah, would it? I mean, what would be the most inappropriate leather item? I was thinking leather socks.
Condoms.
Underwear.
Oh, leather condoms.
Leather underwear.
Leather underwear.
leather underwear has been around for.
That would be just.
Oh, but leather socks. Nobody has ever made leather socks. I probably.
Why not?
Oh, really? I wonder why not.
Kathleen, what about leather? I mean, leave aside your boots
Well, actually,
and leather trousers.
No,
and
shoes out of leather, way better than shoes out of fake because
Thank
you can actually get them to fit you after a while. They stretch
Again,
and they
going back to the
conform
whole idea of
themselves.
forming to you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's the give in leather that
Exactly.
helps. Yeah.
And it seems to be better than the synthetic materials.
Yeah.
And so for
Agreed.
me, like, I'm not like I don't break out into a cold sweat at the sight of a cat o' nine tails made out of leather, but a nice
You're a dirty little liar, you are. You're a liar. You love
know-
a cat of nine tails.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to
Early
be
in the
leather.
morning.
Now, you know what? The question looks better and better suddenly. Why? Because there is obsession with leather. We are obsessed with status, and leather equates, in many cases, status, like leather interior of your vehicle. You know.
Oh, I gotta say, because I'm a party poop. You guys know Corinthian leather's fake, right?
Oh, probably made out of recycled garbage bags in Taiwan.
Okay, that's
you
all.
know.
Just keep going.
Okay, everybody here, imagine a shapely young woman wearing a leather corset vest that
yeah.
pushes up in all the right places and pulls very.
just do
and
that again,
are you all going to
Mm-hmm.
start drooling at that thought? Yeah.
But yeah, because
That's
it's
what I
all.
was-
I'll do
Yeah.
something. I'll
But
be
it
doing
doesn't
something.
matter if the corset is made out of trash pieces, as long as it's fulfilling its function.
No,
Just do that
no,
again, dear,
it's,
would you?
it's sexier for Jeremy specifically because at some point this leather corset was enveloping a cow. You know,
You're all wrong. You're all wrong. Stingray. That's the new leather.
stingray.
Stingray.
Yeah, elaborate.
Well, it doesn't last very long. It's not very durable. But oh, it's so smooth. Stingray condoms coming to 2018.
This is a new. Is this a new invention? Stingray condom.
Well, Stingray
I kind of want
leather.
to move away from you right
Well, I
now.
can tell you that we have
Yeah, everyone's
leather.
leaving him a little more space on
you
the
have
table.
Conroy's attention, that's for sure.
Stingray is also a great name for a porn actor whose name is Ray.
All right.
You know,
A good adjective for all those actresses who worked with him, too.
You're listening to Wednesday Night Undressed, or Old Farts Complaining, as some people tell us. We're pleased to say that our numbers are coming up, and we try and do a light bit, some funny bit, and maybe sometimes serious. A little bit more serious now. It's your government at work. But do you actually care about a lack of the president's tax returns or his kids being in senior positions in the administration? Do you care about how much money he spends on travel? Or are these things just not important in the great scheme of things, Dr. Orlando?
So,
Oh, we're
this
going to
is
get so
just-
many opposing viewpoints.
You think? No, don't care. Only care. Well, let me backtrack. I'm gonna talk about each one of these things separately. So, tax returns, big fucking deal. It should have gotten him kicked out of the race, but it didn't get him kicked out of the race because it's not what he did was not illegal. So it's tasteless and tacky and disrespectful to the populace. But now that he's president, it's really just one of the many things that he's going to do that's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. So,
Well, they might be able to force them to come out if it's proven that if there are accusations that he is profiting, his businesses are profiting, and the only way we can find them is that.
so I agree.
Yeah.
And as soon as this goes back to either a criminal or a policy matter, then it becomes important to me. But just having him produce his taxes to satisfy the notion that presidents should produce their taxes, to me was a dead deal once he got
Unless the
elected.
states manage to put it, you can't get on their ballot unless you've produced your taxes in
Again,
that state.
I think that is what should happen, what should have already happened prior to
Don't know
his
whether
running.
it'll prove to be constitutional or not.
But
So-
at this point, it doesn't. I mean, right now, every time we talk about Trump should release his taxes, it's a combination of he's hiding something that we want to find out, and we're wanting him to incriminate himself, or we're just crying sour milk at this point. So.
Yeah, you know, Jeremy's question was weird. It was basically he was asking what's worse, nepotism or corruption. In this case, they're so intertwined. It's basically it's the same thing, and he's asking us if that doesn't matter.
No, actually, what I was
Yeah.
wondering was more whether you want to call it in the great scheme of things, we all are very aware of the media just because of who we are. But in the great scheme of things, do we actually care?
Okay.
Does it actually matter that he's spending extra money to go down to Mar-a-Lago?
I understand. Now, so let's start with the nepotism. No, it shouldn't matter if he was a brilliant man. If he was a brilliant man doing an incredible job, and if the subjects of nepotism, the beneficiaries of his nepotism, his daughter and his son-in-law, were absolutely incredibly talented human beings. I mean,
Kennedy with his brother.
Angelina Jolie found her way in Hollywood. Doors opened for her because her father was John Voight. But she was a brilliant actress, and he was a brilliant actor, and people didn't care. It's not exactly the same situation with Will Smith and his son Jaden, or his daughter Willow, who's trying a horrible musical career, and he's trying to open doors for her. So it doesn't work. So my point is, if he was brilliant, if he was an incredible, a manager, micro and macro, if he was an incredible speaker, charming politician, just very talented,
the opposite of what he is,
exact opposite of everything that he is, nobody would have cared. Nobody.
And the truth is, we've had that. Like, since 47, we've had 3 names consistently in American politics.
Clintons, Bushes.
Kennedy, Clinton, and Bush.
But none of them doing all of it at once.
But still, the sentiment remains, though. These are families that have gotten into power, benefited from being in power, and had other family members benefit and also remain in power because the original family members got into power. This is not new to American politics. It's new that Trump doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah, and it's blatant and it's extremely incompetent. The level of incompetence is staggering. And the
purpose is not to help the country at all. It's to help himself.
And
but
what
Joe
worries
Kennedy's purpose wasn't to help the country.
Yeah, but those people, those Kennedys were so talented. Each one of them.
I hear you, and I agree.
Ira, disagree with you. Ira.
No, and they really worked hard for the benefit of the country. Now, what worries me about Jeremy's question is that there's a pattern that's being followed that we've observed in many dictatorships. Saddam Hussein and his 2 insane sons are a good example. We can look at the Marcos family. We can look in Zimbabwe at the Mugabe. I mean, it's all over the place. North Korea is the most obvious, horrible example. And we're seeing...
Yeah, but he's the only one who's willing to kill any of his family members for betraying him. So
we haven't get past 100 days yet.
You can't say this because this is... I wouldn't... I'm looking at this guy and I see somebody so unhinged and so consumed with shared love for himself, that I don't know what to expect. And I mean, I look at it. I'm looking at him. I'm consistently surprised. Almost every day he finds a way to surprise me with something more ridiculous and more self-obsessed. So I don't know what's going to happen. But he has. He made a phone call to Erdogan, one of the only leaders in the world to call Erdogan this week, after Erdogan changed the constitution of Turkey, basically turning it from a secular society to a dangerous fundamentalist place, and stripping power from the judges, from the Congress, and absorbing all that power, and turning himself into dictator. Until 2029, he can rule, when he's going to be 100 years old. So he has turned this into monarchy, and it's a Muslim monarchy. He has turned the clock back and has created an Ottoman Empire with a sultan at the helm. And who would call him first? Our President Trump, elated. And what does that tell me? How far are we from him stripping this from our constitution and awarding himself with a 3rd or 4th term? I mean, it's insane.
Well, I have wondered.
Is it possible?
I posed the question a while ago, which no one seemed to listen to, and that was, as a foreigner, Trump has the ability, the president has the ability to put off a general election in case of a national emergency. And my worry was, as we were running up to the election, what happens when we get to 2000 and what's 8 years from now, if all of a sudden
I don't even want to think about
if
this.
all of a
Scary.
sudden we find that we've been messing with North Korea for 10 years, 8 years, and all of a sudden 7.5 years in, someone presses a button. If the administration is capable of losing an aircraft carrier and its support group, and they tell everybody, and it's not just the president and it's not just his media, it's the general in charge is saying the aircraft carrier is proceeding up towards a particular country when in fact it's 3,000 miles away, proceeding in the opposite direction in a different ocean.
The bottom line is that this is what the Electoral College was supposed to prevent.
Yes.
Somebody like Trump getting into office.
And yet they're the ones who put him in power.
Right. So, all of the
with
concerns
respect, they are not. The they is not what the fathers of your country thought they would be.
That's valid.
That's the problem.
So, for just to reiterate my answer to your original question, these things that you've brought up, including the travel, the money that he's wasting for travel, are things that he literally was given the power to do when he attained office. So whether or not they ultimately matter will be borne out by what other stupidities he commits in the future, and this stuff may come back to bite him.
There's a number of interesting things I find about looking at the way Trump does things. Mm-hmm. There are very few things, and I haven't actually come up against one yet, that he's not entitled to do. So, for example, he is not required to produce his tax returns.
Correct.
Legally.
This is my point.
Mar-a-Lago was the summer White House up until relatively recently, when the government sold it to Trump.
Right.
And when he bought it, he was buying the summer White House that the government wasn't using. Interestingly.
So,
and he's saying, I got elected to do various things. We thought we would do, he, because of naivety, I think, said we can do things on day one and this, that,
or
and
lack
the
of
other.
concern.
Or arrogance.
Yeah, whatever. My concern still comes back to his ability to course correct when something isn't going the way he wants it to. So, for example, the Russia thing, various North Korea came up, right? Think about this for a minute. He's terrified of Russia, of the Russia connection. Manafort is still floating around. In fact, someone said recently that he was still Trump's representative.
Oh, his dossier
So
is now has surfaced again.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's true.
So you want it?
The pea scandal?
Trump
Nice.
needs to change. Trump needs to change the focus, the direction, right?
yeah.
So what happened? We have North Korea. Now, did
Yes.
Trump decide to do something? Please don't tell me that the president, or at least his immediate advisors, don't know at the end of a telephone call where an aircraft carrier attack group is. That is complete rubbish. And the reason that Sean Spicer looked so embarrassed today when he was being asked these questions is because Sean Spicer is a commander in the Navy National Guard and was actually in service.
And the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, and he was an Easter Bunny. But he's actually a commander in the Navy's reserve. And he was serving 2 weekends ago at the Pentagon. Again, they knew perfectly well. So what I'm getting at is they were lying.
Yeah.
But the country isn't squealing about it. The only people who are squealing about it is MSNBC and Rachel Maddow and a few others. The rest of the country isn't. You're not seeing
Because
huge...
they're overwhelmed by the lies. It's so incredibly
Yeah,
smart.
we're squealing
We-
about
we
everything.
are at the point-
Like, at a certain point, you can't
it's-
complain about
you just-
everything.
After a while,
you have
Jeremy.
99 complaints, and Sean Spicer is one. but you can't get them all, in there. I mean, that's really time-consuming and exhausting. I gotta go to work.
I mean, there's so many of his ministers of propaganda. This insane Stephen Miller, Kellyanne Conway, Sean Spicer. They're all out of control, pathological liars, and it's overwhelming. And people are just overloaded, sensory overload. You don't know which way to look, whose lies to
And
rebuff.
eventually, the rational, normal person is just like, you know what?
Fuck it, I
don't
need
care.
some rich Corinthian leather.
Yeah.
I just
care
want
anymore.
to get away from it all.
Like, this
I
is
won't
the
ask
reality
you
we
to
live
step
in.
into my
Just
Range
shoot me.
Rover another time, sweetie. Okay.
Perhaps the only
I
way
do
to
care.
get along.
You know what? I was thinking.
Hold on.
Well,
Perhaps the only way you can succeed as a pathological liar and blowhard as a president is to surround yourself with similar people so that
Yeah.
you can toss them out to be victims every now and then.
There's a goddamn lot of
Sacrificial
validity
lambs.
to that strategy.
that's working.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, we have a president. We are very close to seeing a mushroom nuclear cloud very soon.
I always wanted
rising.
to know what they look like up close.
Well, I was thinking, what if we impeach Trump and elect Snoop Dogg, and then we'll have magic mushroom cloud instead of nuclear cloud.
That sticky, icky,
Snoop
icky.
Dogg,
That would be a good
that's a
president.
hallucinogenic reference, which doesn't fit Snoop Dogg best. I mean,
Jason, have you got a final comment on this?
No, I'm good.
I do,
good.
I do, I do.
Far out, man.
I
No,
can't. I
it's,
can't.
it's. I mean, the simple answer is that we've been lied to for so long that we are now numb to lies.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
just a simple answer. I mean, we've just been numbed because we've been lied to for so
So the
long.
vice president and the president independently being asked by the media, thousands of miles apart, are being asked, what about North Korea, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, what about North Korea? And their response is behave. It isn't some normal long thing, from a politician.
Again,
Behave.
we are living in a
So they
we are
quoted
living
him
in
on
a
something.
TV reality presidential episode right now. That's what we're living in.
Yeah.
And there's no one to blame but us.
Dr.
Because
Orlando,
we're the
having
ones who
been
didn't stand up to
an
our
advisor
government.
to
Yeah.
numerous presidents and presidents over the years, what's your view on behave?
So when I first read your question, when you sent the notes over and you asked what should President or Vice President Pence do next, I took your question as this is my rephrasing of your question in my mind. You wake up after having created a prison of your own shit, and you want to know what you're going to do next. If I was Vice President Pence, I would never be Vice President Pence. I would never have followed this crazy man. I would.
President Pence is insane. Have you listened to him?
Yes, but he's a different insane
Yeah.
than President
It
Cheeto.
doesn't matter if he's different. Insanity
Vice
still
President,
hangs
that
out
sounds
together.
good.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good job to
So-
have. Sure, I'll do it.
Okay, so I'm taking what you guys are saying into account. There's one thing that I would do as Vice President Pence. I would remove Trump from office by declaring that he's unstable, which is within
Vote
the
of no
power.
confidence? Can
It's
you do that?
within
You
the
have
power.
to get his cabinet to agree.
Right.
Look at his cabinet.
You have to get the Senate to agree.
Nope, his cabinet.
You know what?
For a vote of no confidence
the
to
cabinet.
be put
It's the
on?
cabinet.
Not a vote
Okay.
for confidence.
Do we even
the
have
cabinet
that? I don't know how our
and the
government
vice
works.
president can, together.
Unilaterally.
Yeah.
You know what?
I know about government
Fuck
from
off.
His
Star
cabinet
Wars.
are his beings.
Right.
You know what he can do? Pence can do something incredible, guys. He can get in one of these contraptions from the movie Avatar at the very end, because nobody can convince me that Mike Pence is not the villain from the movie Avatar.
Yeah,
No
true.
shit, man.
He's
Yeah.
the exact carbon copy of that guy.
Oh, the white hair guy with
but
the
it's him!
yeah, but he's. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He is. He is.
He'll get into that contraption and kick Trump's ass.
So he gets Trump removed from office so that
Yes.
he can work on the policies that he really cares about.
Such as, burying all women's
the
periods.
anti-women, American Taliban bullshit.
Yeah, Sharia law,
Yeah.
the Christian Sharia.
Yeah. So that's what I would do if I was Vice President Pence.
Do you know, just so you know, when we've touched on a couple of things here, and particularly about what Trump might do in 8 years' time. The CIA actually had conversations and meetings with senior military leaders, including the 1st Airborne, when Nixon was about to go, when they thought Nixon was going to maybe not go. They were worried that the president would use his powers to call in the 1st Airborne to protect the White House.
Okay.
But he actually went. So they didn't have to.
Right.
You'll never catch me alive. Ever. I'll call him.
My thought is, on our little podcast, we can do something, and that is that if this guy who is currently our president is a crook, right?
Sorry.
No.
If? Yeah.
I say if because no one has actually proved that he is.
Oh my God.
But if he is a crook, I wonder whether or not we as a country would be allowed to do something about it.
I'm gonna assign SEAL Team 7 to guard me at all times, especially on my golf course.
I like it.
I don't know where I'm going with that.
I like it. I like it. I like
It's
it.
going to be huge. You've been listening to Wednesday Night Undressed, or as in this particular case, Old Farts Complaining. I want to thank our team, Mikey, Jason, Kathleen, Dr. Orlando, and of course, Ivo Ivanov.
And our sponsors, Pan Am.
And our
Pan Am,
sponsors,
TWA, and
TWA,
Blockbuster.
and Conroy's. And our engineer for tonight, Neil Rasmussen. Yeah, yay.